Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests who have joined today. Welcome to yet another exciting meeting of Toastmasters for Professionals. My name is Swati and I am SSA Sergeant at Arms for today's meeting. To officially start the meeting, I want to note that this meeting will be recorded and shared amongst members for study and self reflection. Some parts may also be used for promotional material later. In order to have a smooth meeting, here are a few ground rules. Please put yourself on mute when not speaking. Don't interrupt while someone is speaking. Be attentive throughout the meeting. And last, support the speakers with your warm smiles and claps. Let's have a great meeting. Now, please welcome our club president, Catherine.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms, because Catherine is not available at the moment. I would stand in her place as Vice President Education, and my presiding address would be based on the theme of today's readers are tomorrow's leaders. Yes, we have Catherine right in the room. Catherine, may I call you? I'm catching her off guard. Catherine, please join us. Come forward to the virtual stage. Presidential address. Toastmaster Catherine Opondo.
Catherine, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it is.
I'm sorry that I hope my screen is not freezing or something. Can you see me clearly? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
Can you hear me clearly?
Can hear you, Catherine.
Okay. I think there's something with my reception. It's kind of freezing. I'm sorry about that.
It does seem a
Good
little
morning.
hazy, but we can hear you.
I'll do my best. Good morning, good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Welcome to Interpersonal Toastmasters. This morning, we're gonna have a wonderful meeting, a special Toastmasters meeting. But before we do that, I would like to make some small announcements. One of them is a question to all of us. By show of hands, how many of us have been able to log into our base camp? How many of us Toastmasters have been able this week to log into our base camp? Thank you so much. I can see a few of us whose cameras are on. But if you haven't, this is my request to each and every one of us. Kindly log into your base camp and update your pathways levels. Find out what you have done and what you haven't done, and kindly reach out to the Vice President Education, Dr. Mary Thomas. This is just a few days before the 15th of December. Beyond this time, you will lose all the hard work you have been putting in with the projects that you have worked on. And this is my plea to us who are in the room to reach out to each of our members who haven't come today. Kindly, let's be our brothers and our sisters keepers. Reach out to them. I'm making this plea as your president. Please reach out to them to make sure that they're updating their pathways levels in base camp. And to log into base camp is very simple. If you need help, please reach out to any of us club officers. We can help. We can go through with you one by one until you can update your base camp levels. In a very special way, I would like to congratulate our Toastmasters, D. Marie Shah King and DTM Melind, for their exceptional awards this month that they have gained. I do not know if our Vice President Public Relations is available to share with us their JJ, are you there? Are you able to share their awards with us?
I can share them next week, Catherine. I apologize.
Thank you
I
so
don't
much.
have them right now.
Thank you so much. And I would like to commend them. D. Marisha King achieved the triple award for 3 levels of pathways that she has earned. And Didi Melind has been able to gain another level. I would like to congratulate them. I'd like to ask each of us members to send them a congratulatory message in their inbox, but also a round of applause for their achievements that make us proud as a club, and to thank them for working so hard and setting a pace for us. So these are the few announcements I have had to make, and I hope that we can now run ahead with our meeting. I'd like to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, none other than the Vice President, Toastmaster, Dr. Mary Thomas. Welcome, Dr. Mary Thomas.
Thank you, President Catherine, for jumping in as we were about to start the meeting. Thank you for being there. And thank you for the announcements you've made. It is a critical announcement because December 15th is just around the corner. We need to get this done. If not, everything goes null and void. I would also like to start the meeting with the theme: today's readers, tomorrow's leaders. Before I start expounding on this very simple theme, I would like to have each one of you tell me 2 things. When did you start reading? Just tell me the age. Number 2, which book totally changed your life? Really, really turned it around 180 degrees. We'll start with the president. Catherine?
Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Thomas. I started reading, I suspect that I started reading at 2. And my first set of reading was probably when I started to see the alphabet, but mostly when I started to see my mom and dad read the Bible. That was the first time I started to see letters. And I didn't know what they were reading, but I just thought I was really reading. So the pictures I have are of me seriously looking into something. The book that really has impacted me is, besides the faith books that I read, is one written by Dambisa Moyo, and it's called Dead Aid. That book has changed my way of thinking about grants, about funding, about support for countries and nations, about economics, about our nations, about where we are as a people. So I love that book. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Catherine. I believe the author of that book is African, right?
Yes, she is. I thought she was not African until I saw her once on LinkedIn. Yes, she is African.
Yeah, because I haven't heard this book. Nice to hear a new book after all the reading that I have done over the decades. All right, number 2, Sergeant at Arms, Swati. Quickly tell us at what age you started reading and what's the book that impacted you?
I started involving myself in the habit of reading very recently, maybe at the age of 23. I would start few books and leave it in midway, but one complete series that I've completed is Harry Potter. What I learned from that is the friendship between those 3. So friendships stay through thick and thin. So I was always fascinated by their friendship, and that's what I was planning to have one in my life.
Nice. Thank you. It's never, ever too late to start reading. Never, ever. Right, next. I'm following it on what's on my gallery. Our counter, Shanda, could you share with us when did you start reading and what impacted?
Hello, everyone. I started reading when I was probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I think there's been books that's impacted me in different stages of my life. So the very first one that impacted me was when I was a child, and that was the book Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. It was just something that resonated with me at the time, and I still consider that one of my favorite books. As in adulthood, one of the books that really impacted me is Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds by David Goggins. And he was a Navy SEAL. And it's mainly about how strong your mind is, that you can really put your mind to anything as long as you set your goals, and mindset is everything. So that was really impactful and helpful for me at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's run quickly. Dee Marie, share with us. Just tell us the age and what book. That's it. Because we've got a good crowd here today, 19 of us. Okay, Dee Marie.
I was 4 years old because I was the wet nurse for all of my little sisters and brothers that were born every 2 years apart. So I started reading to them. And the book that has impacted my life the most is the book that I wrote, Glass Heart Forever Yours. Because of that book, I have found my passion for my entire life, and that is to advocate on behalf of the survivors of domestic violence.
Thank you. Thank you, Dee Marie. I would like each of you to write down that book, the name of the book and the author in the chat box, so that we can also know which are those books that impacted you. Please put them in the chat box. Dee Marie, you authored your own book. Please put it in the chat box. Nancy, can we quickly hear from you? Age, book that impacted you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I started reading around 4 years old, I think. And the most impactful book in recent memory is The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. It's a collection of short stories by, and he's an Asian American author. So it was just a different perspective on Asian Americans that really changed my my life reading that book.
Thank you. Thank you. Shihas, could you put that in the chat box, Nancy, the name of the book? Shihas?
Yes, hi everyone. When it comes to self-improvement or self-help book or something which we try to learn from, I would say that I started reading very recently. And the book that I'm currently reading is called Crucial Conversations, which basically helps us to handle different scenarios or different situations in a better way. I just started reading it, I just in a midway. So probably once I'm done, probably we can do a Toastmasters theme on that. That's all I have. But
yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, Shihas. Please put it in the chat box. Mr. No-Roll. Mr. No-Roll. Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mary, I started reading at the age of 5, I guess. One of the most inspirational book I read in my life is La Mirable by Victor Hugo. I don't know whether the pronunciation is right or not. It's a French book, La Mirable or Les Miserables. That's how it is written. Especially the two characters, the Zhang Valjean or Jean Valjean and the bishop. So there are two characters, how a bishop changed the life of a hardcore criminal with an act of kindness. You read the entire essence of Christianity is there in that book in the first portion, the act of kindness shown by the priest, and it is still there. I'm sure that you must have studied in your school or colleges at least one chapter of that book, that is Bishop's Candlesticks. So if you search it, you will get it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Very quickly, let's run. Timer. GJ, tell us the book that you've read and the age you started reading.
Yes, I forget the exact age at which I started reading, maybe 4 or 5. And I haven't been reading recently, but one book that comes to mind, I forgot the name, I apologize, but it was about running and how running barefoot helps your body, basically. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next, General Evaluator Cassandra, share with us. When did you start reading and which book?
the age of 4 or 5, and the most impactful book, A Course in Miracles.
All right. Okay. I'm an ASIM reader and member as well. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Cassandra. Yeah. Topics Master, John, tell us the book and what age you started reading.
Yeah, that's a hard one to recall exactly. And I was thinking about when I started reading. And I can recall as a kid, probably about 4 years old, I was in preschool. And I remember learning the alphabet about that age. So I think reading came shortly after that, which was a while ago. And the book, I thought about this, and the book I think that had the biggest impression on me was The Stranger by Albert Camus. I read that. I was in high school. I wasn't a very good student. I didn't go to school very much. And I had a literature teacher, Mrs. Ogden, who recommended I read this book kind of out of the blue. And I read it, and it's an existential book, and it's the style of writing is basically on how absurd and strange life is, and the protagonist is very detached and so forth. So I actually could relate to that at the time. So that was the book that probably left the biggest impression on me, especially in my younger years. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Book reviewer, Toastmaster Karthik, you're going to review the book. Tell us when you started reading.
I started reading seriously perhaps around the age of 11. The first book I really loved was a book called The Big Friendly Giant by Roald Dahl. But I would say my favorite book is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. A very short book, very powerful and impactful. Thank you for having me here, Dr. Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to hear you later. All right. Next, we have Subhadra. Subhadra, you're our guest. Could you quickly share with us when did you start reading and a book that has impacted your life?
I'm sorry to say, but no book has impacted my life. But I started reading storybooks from a very young age, maybe 6 years or 7 years. We started on Enid Blyton and slowly grew up to James Hadley Chase, and in those days, Perry Mason and all that stuff. But as a book, no book has impacted my life, or I've learned something from that. But I just enjoyed all books which I have read till now. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's true. You enjoy every book that we read. All right, next, Siva. I wish I could hear more from you guys, but time. Siva, tell us, when did you start reading the book that impacted you?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question to me. Unfortunately, I can't come the video. Yeah, I'm a very lazy book reader. So even I was struggled to read my subject book as well. But unfortunately, I got an opportunity to buy one of the story book. So I really liked. I completely read out within 3 days. So that even I can't remember the book name itself. So I started reading that book on my 17-year-old. So what impact made in my life is, usually I get the stories from my grandma, but after reading this book, I gave a story to my grandma. After hearing this story, my grandma appreciated me. Even I can realize that she asked me, what is that? What is next? What is next? So it really impacted me. See, even I can tell the story. I can impress the people also. So that's how it really motivated me. So it helped me to identify myself. I can do whatever it is, even who are master who taught me. So it gives a lot of confidence to me. That's it. Thank you for asking this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for someone to say that the first book they read was the book in school, or the amount of books that we read up while we in the 10 or 12 years we are in school. My goodness. All right, next, very quickly, Andrea, please tell us when you first started reading. Andrea with us? Okay, I think she's not with us. All right, Maureen, Maureen, could you share with us? Okay. Kumar, guest Kumar. I have a bit of difficulty.
I'm sorry. I'll go.
Maureen, carry on. Carry on, Maureen.
Okay. Isaac Asimov, the Robot series. I really, as a child, I was about 6, and I liked science. And he presaged artificial intelligence and machine learning, and because of my job, I only read business, art, and science, and I think that only in university did I read fiction. So this is inspiring me, hearing the way people are reading, beyond their jobs to keep their creativity flowing. So I'm glad I'm here to hear it. And I'm actually jotting down things, for the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you. That was a nice sharing. Kumar, are you with us now? Oh, I think I got you, right? Okay, Divya.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, apart from my school books, I'm not much into reading any other books, but long ago, many years ago, I read one book named You Can Win by Shiv Khera. It's a self-development book, and it gives practical advice on achieving success and fulfilling one's potential. So that book inspired me a lot. It emphasizes the importance of self-confidence, positive thinking, and determination, and it's a perfect balance between the professional and personal development. Yeah.
Thank you, Divya. Claire, you're with us. So happy to see you. Claire, could you share with us?
Hello. Yes. So, in recent years, I haven't done much reading, to be honest. But when I was younger, I was a big fan of Jacqueline Wilson, which is a fiction writer. And I absolutely loved all of her books, which I would read a lot and very quickly. But yeah, in recent years and since the pandemic, I've really cut down on my reading, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks, Claire. Millen, I haven't heard from you. You wrote something in the chat, but quickly tell us, when did you start reading and what's the book that impacted you?
Yeah, so I too started reading somewhere at the age of 6, I guess. And I started reading not English, but I started first reading my mother tongue, that is Marathi, because those were the neighborhood in which I was living were largely children from Marathi medium schools. So I first started reading in Marathi, and then I, of course, graduated to English. And if you ask me which book impressed me, I mean, there are several books. I'm right now sitting in front of a bookshelf. So let me show some books which I have read in the last 3 months. Robin Sharma, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. I would definitely recommend all of you to read this. But the book which has really impressed me most, Mary, and I think which I wrote in the chat, is this book. Yeah, I mean, I just accidentally happened to learn about this book. Good leaders ask great questions. And since we are in a club of professionals and we are all professionals and we are in various stages in our leadership journey, this book is like a ready reckoner. As a leader, as a growing leader, you often come across situations when you have to deal with difficult bosses, difficult subordinates, difficult peers, or you have to various leadership situations that you would pass through in your professional journey. This book has got some answers to all those situations. And in fact, I'm going to write a little more about this in the form of a journal, but I would very strongly recommend all of you to buy this book and keep it with you. And every time you are in a situation, go to that particular chapter. It is very nicely catalogued. I would very strongly recommend. I have gifted this book until now to almost 4 people in the last 6 months. It's that good. Thank you, Millen.
Thank you. Thank you, Millen. Thank you. Thank you. That was a great share. I would like all of you, I think I have not missed anyone. If I've missed anyone, please raise your hand and come forward. We want to hear from you. Yes, Ramanpreet. Yes, please. You're in the gym.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm not a very reader. So I'm a chartered accountant. I'm a CPA by profession. So most of my life has been engrossed with the professional books and the latest, and that gives me inspiration and a great kick. The latest book that I've read is Global Strategy and Leadership by CPA Australia. Very good book, very interesting concepts. And if any of you is interested in reading more about the profession, just go for the books in your profession. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rampreet. You make a good Toastmaster. You know why? Even if you're in the gym, you're with us. That's the real Toastmaster spirit. Are you a Toastmaster, Rampreet? Are you a Toastmaster?
I am a distinguished Toastmaster.
No wonder.
I've completed all 11 pathways.
No wonder. See the difference, guys? When you're a Toastmaster, you're a leader wherever you go. Woo! That's the way. That's the spirit. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ramanpreet. All right, I think we're done. Anyone else I've missed? Because my gallery keeps moving and shifting around. Okay, if I've missed anyone, please raise your hand. If not, we'll move forward and then you can speak with us later during the different segments. All right, we're going to quickly start the first session of our meeting, which is the project speeches. We have Catherine Opondo with us with her first speech. Evaluator Millen, could you just introduce her and we'll move on from there.
Catherine, this is your first speech, right, in your project?
Catherine?
Can you
This
hear
is
me?
the first speech in your project?
The second speech in my project. Second speech.
Okay. Okay. So today I have the pleasure of evaluating our president, Catherine Opondo. Catherine Opondo today, she is at level 4. Her path is dynamic leadership. The project which she is going to be speaking on, the title, the subject is managing projects successfully. And I'll just read out the objectives of this speech. So in this speech, in this project rather, what the person has to do is to handle a project and share the experiences before she starts the project. And after having concluded the project, once again, come back and reflect. So the purpose of this project is for the member to practice developing a plan, building a team, and fulfilling the plan with the help of her team. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience while managing the project. So this is what Catherine is going to do. She's going to share with us her experiences of managing a project. I think I remember hearing your first speech also. The title of Catherine's speech is very interesting. Leadership is not a beauty contest. Back to you, Mary, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, evaluator. Let's dive straight into Catherine's speech.
And the time is, of course, 5 to 7 minutes. Timer, sorry, I missed out on that. 5 to 7 minutes.
Leadership is not a beauty contest. When I walked into various positions of honor and authority, I was convinced that I was in it to win it, in it to get the applause of many. And so I came in with an entitlement of, if I could just hear the whim of one acknowledgement, I will get an applause. It was not so. James Kouzes and Barry Posner, authors of The Leadership Challenge, assert that credibility is the foundation of leadership. I say, just be authentic. You will not walk alone in the park. People will follow you. So when I walked into my leadership positions, one of them was being a mother, Being a mother, I was introduced to motherhood by fire. And this is what happened. Everybody expects that at the end of the 9th month, you will have the baby and have the baby rolled in your arms. That was not the situation for me. At 6 months, she came out and I had to do the tube feeding and I had to do the kangaroo and I had to wait at the incubator hoping she will live. Little did I know, right there, do you see a young lady right there? She's coming, come on, just walk backwards. You don't have to show your face, come on. She's right there, she's shy. 18 years later, I would be looking at a young woman. When I walked into the workplace as a new CEO, I thought it was going to be a beauty contest. No. In the first month, it felt like I was sitting on a hot plate as I entered the boardroom with questions and evaluations of work that I thought I had done for the last quarter, and it seemed useless. After presenting my reports, I was told, so what? In 2019, June 6th to June the 9th, I entered a space called leadership. And this space was by the Institute for National Transformation. I was introduced to reading. I started to read up. I was told that I was going to critique 20 books and I could fall apart. Every night, I started to write. And some of the books that I critiqued were wonderful books, like one of the books I talked about, Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo. But one specific one was From Third World to First World, the Singapore Story from 1965 to 2000 by Lee Kuan Yew. The second one, which most of you know about, is Good to Great. These books transformed my thought process about leadership. So what are the lessons I learned through critiquing these books? I learned that as you read, something happens to our mind. Something happens to our mind that translates into our being, that we take home into leadership. And so can I tell you something? As I narrated to our internal auditor back to the office, I told him the governance has said, so what? They don't understand what I presented. My team is erratic. I am changing staff members often, and I am having to induct new ones. So I feel like my roof is on fire, and I feel like my foundation is sinking. That is what I said to him. Well, I totally submitted myself to leading, to learning from these resources. 1, I was frustrated. 2, my resources were not enough. 3, I had to lead by example, whether I liked it or not. And 4, I had to pass it on. So what were my lessons? These were my lessons as I submitted myself to leadership from the Institute of National Transformation by critiquing these books and learning through masterminds and applying these lessons in my work and in my motherhood. So these are 2 spaces I've described as a leader. You will lead at work, you will lead at home. What did I learn? My mind and my body can be repositioned to adapt to good. They can be stretched to do more. As a young mother, raising the little baby, I was stretched to do more than the basic breastfeeding, because instead I had to do the expression of breast milk through a pipe and this pipe went through her nose, straight into her digestive tract. I was stretched. With the right conditions and the right pressure, I can give my best no matter what. Meaning there is no excuse. Leadership is not a beauty contest. What were the conditions at my workplace? The conditions were tough. The conditions were fragile. But I was ready to press through no matter the distraction, to press through no matter the hard situation. Can I tell you something, friends? Values-based leaders exist. They exist in you, they exist in me. We can stretch, we can grow. It doesn't matter what's going on around you, you can give your best. As a matter of fact, this morning, I was tasked to give a few notes to a friend who needed consultation. I had to press through. I had to press through, irrespective of the challenges I had. Back to you, Toastmasters and guests. Credibility is the foundation of leadership. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for that leadership. I'm not going to say too much. We're right now in the energy and momentum of books. I'm going to quickly call in our book reviewer, Karthik Ramkumar. Karthik is a person who is involved in nanotechnology. He's also a blogger. And of course, he is an avid reader. So Karthik, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Dr. Mary. If you wanted to learn a new language, or perhaps you wanted to become a better artist, or even complete an entire academic curriculum by yourself, how would you go about doing it? These are exactly the questions that writer Scott Young attempted to answer. Scott first became famous for trying to complete MIT's 4 years long computer science curriculum by himself. Scott then went on to demonstrate that it is indeed possible to become a significantly better artist within a span of a month. Scott also went an entire year without speaking a word of English, simply because he wanted to learn 4 new languages. So he traveled to 4 new countries, staying in each of the countries for a span of 3 months, and immersed himself in the local language. As he went about these new learning challenges, be it to learn new languages, or perhaps to become a better artist, or even to learn computer science from MIT, Scott was not just trying to pick up those skills. He was also working on decoding the underlying principles of learning, of figuring out what exactly is it that makes us more effective learners. And he's compiled all of his learnings into this book called as Ultralearning, which is what I'm going to be talking about to all of you here today. Thank you all for having me here. This is a very intelligent and a well-read audience, and I'm looking forward to sharing all of my learnings from this book here with you. First and foremost, what is ultralearning? Scott defines ultralearning as a strategy for acquisitions of skills and knowledge that is both self-directed and intense. So by self-directed, he means that we are always the ones who should be in the driver's seat of our own learning. Even if we end up going to school to learn something, even if we engage a private tutor to teach us something, we should be the ones who truly demonstrate the initiative and take charge of our learning journey. And the second attribute that he talks about is intensity. So ultralearning is not for people who want to dabble with something. It's not for people who want to have a fun, casual approach to learning. This is about acquiring a new, rare, valuable skill, which can truly and dramatically change the course of your life. So why at all should we engage in an ultralearning journey? And Scott offers examples of 2 areas of our life where you can really make a big, big difference. The first one is obvious, which is our professional life. We all know people who are probably doing the same thing over and over and over again in their careers. And we also know people who probably are making incremental improvements in their careers over a fairly long period of time. But Ultralearning offers a strategy for us to pick up new, rare, and valuable skills which can catapult our career to a totally different league. And I can relate to this from my own personal journey. There was a time many years ago when I felt that I was stagnating in my career. The organization that I was working with had no new interesting opportunities to offer me. And it was at that time that I did a little bit of research. I figured out that there was this one skill which was very highly valued and it was upcoming. So I went ahead, purchased a book related to it, which is about 1,000 pages long. And I spent 3 months intensely studying the contents of that book. Then I went out and gave interviews at several organizations, landed a job, and that move has completely changed the course of my career. All because of the commitment to pick up this one new skill. But it's not just professional life. Ultralearning has much to offer in terms of personal life as well. Because all of us here, my dear friends, we have our own dreams. We have dreams of perhaps becoming an author one day, like Miss Mary striking here, or like Dr. Mary here. And perhaps we want to learn a new musical instrument. And Ultralearning offers us the strategies and techniques for bringing those dreams to life. Because at the end of the day, what makes life worth living, what makes life meaningful is us pursuing the best version of ourselves and maximizing our potential. And what better way to maximize our potential than to learn new, rare, valuable skills, which are going to force us to stretch, force us to grow, force us to enhance our capabilities and competencies and become the best version of ourselves. So Ultralearning indeed offers us to go deep, and a deep life is a life well lived. So I'm going to be sharing about some of the principles that Scott talks about in his book. The first one being meta-learning. So we begin our Ultralearning journey with what he calls as meta-learning, which is what I call as a map of the territory. And meta-learning consists of answering 3 questions. The first question is a why. Why at all do I want to take on this Ultralearning project? And this is an important question to answer because you want to be very clear on what are you going to achieve by learning or mastering this new skill. If you're going to do a certification, how is that going to help you in your career? This is something that you want to be really, really clear on. Because I personally have made the mistake of investing a lot of time to learn a new skill, only to find out that it's irrelevant. Or even worse, I've mastered the obsolete. The second question that Scott encourages to think about is the what. The what is a list of skills that you want to have at the end of your Ultralearning journey. So if your Ultralearning journey was a book, the what would be the table of contents. So you want to have a picture of what you need to know at the end of your learning journey. And the third question that we need to ask ourselves is the how, which comes to what are the methods we're going to be using in our learning journey? What resources are we going to require as part of our journey? And once we have the why, the what, and the how answered, we are perfectly well set to embark on a true learning journey because we are setting out on this journey with a sense of intention, with a sense of clarity, and that dramatically raises the chance of us succeeding in our learning endeavor. Which brings us to the second concept that Scott talks about, which is directness. And I think directness is the most underestimated of all skills and the one that really, really spoke to me. And here is how Scott defines directness. He says, learning should happen in the same context or situation in which you're actually going to use that skill. So to give you an example, say I wanted to learn German. How would I use German? I probably would use it with my professional colleagues, or perhaps I might think of moving to Germany, in which case I would converse in German with the localites out there. In either case, my real use case of learning German is to be able to speak with people in German. So the most direct and the most effective way for me to learn German is to simply talk to people in German. But what do a lot of us end up doing? We probably install the Duolingo app, which looks very colorful, which looks very interesting. But the sort of exercises and questions and levels the Duolingo app has is very different from how conversations happen in real life. Or to give a more relevant example to this group, let's say somebody wanted to become a better public speaker. So an indirect way for them to go about this is for them to go and purchase a book on communication skills and read it. But a more direct and a far more effective way is for them to simply perhaps join Toastmasters, come out here and give a speech, or perhaps even do a presentation. So if this direct approach is so effective, why don't more of us do it? It turns out, not surprisingly, that the direct approach makes us feel a lot more uncomfortable. It can be frustrating. It can be boring. But it is the single most important hallmark of all great ultra learners is that they are direct learners. And when I think of direct learning, I think the absolute masters of direct learning are children. If you think about it, does a 1-year-old child ever attend a workshop on how to walk? They just start trying to walk, they stumble and fall, and they continue. They continue walking until they finally have mastered it. Does a 2-year-old child install the Duolingo app to learn English or whatever the languages that you speak at home? Obviously not. They just learn by making mistakes. It's uncomfortable, but that's how they learn. And they're such effective, brilliant learners. And I want to share a little bit about this from my own personal life. This group is filled with readers, and I am a book lover as well. But here's a trap that I have fallen into, and perhaps a few of you have also fallen into. All book lovers have discovered are lovers of insights. We love all the brilliant new ideas, strategies, techniques, tips that we come across in books. But here's the catch. We fall so much in love with insights that we never take the time to apply them. So here's my invitation to you, my dear friends. We're all insight addicts when we read books. But don't just stop at being an insight addict, become an action addict. Because at the end of the day, insights can only change our thinking, they can only change our perspective. But action is what really changes our life. Here's a question that I would invite all of you to think about. Can you map a book that you have read to a real outcome that you have had in your life? If you can do that, that's when you can say that a book has changed your life and not that it's just changed your thinking. Because if you're just reading books but not really applying them, what we have is an illusion of progress. We feel like we are making progress by learning these new ideas. We feel like we are making progress by getting all these new aha moments and insights. But if you're not applying them, it's not going to really change our lives. So I encourage you to read, of course, but apply the principle of directness to change your life, to change your real life outcomes. Which brings me to the next concept. But before I talk about that concept, I want to ask all of you this question. If you think about a world-class artist or a painter, what age do you think they would have gotten started? Any ideas? Please feel free to unmute yourself and perhaps share.
In childhood, somewhere in 7, 8 years old.
Thank you for sharing that, John. So John says childhood 7 or 8. That would have been my guess as well. But this particular painter started at the ripe old age of 26. And even worse, when he started out, he was considered a poor painter. All of his contemporaries considered him to be absolutely incompetent. And yet, this gentleman by the name of Vincent van Gogh went on to become one of the greatest painters of all time. So how did this man, who started out so late, who started out being a bad painter, go on to become one of the greatest painters of all time? It turns out that there was a method. Vincent van Gogh would study a certain technique and practice hundreds of variations of that technique until he came up with a certain way of doing it that was uniquely his own. He kept experimenting with infinite variations of his technique until he brought in his own sense of personality and individuality into the style. Which brings me to the last strategy that I want to share with you here today. Experimentation is the ultimate path to mastery. And why is this important? It's important because when all of us begin our learning journey, let's say we start learning English, we start out the same way. We learn the letters of the alphabet. We learn the basic rules of grammar. We learn 4-letter words. So our learning journey at the beginning is very, very similar. But as we advance in our learning journey, we tend to diverge. And that, my dear friends, is when we need to carve out our own path. That's the time where we need to infuse our own personality, our individuality into our method of learning. Because at the end of the day, in many skills, proficiency is valued all right, but originality is valued a lot more. And the only way we can become original is for us to run experiments. Because if we're just mastering what others have already created, how are we ever going to become original? The only way we can become original is for us to try something, create something, or invent something of our own. So these are the principles that I wanted to share with you today. This is a good book. I do encourage reading this particular book. If there's one thing that I would have loved Scott to talk about, which I think he missed out, is what I call as the spirit of learning. And it's best encapsulated by this example that I'm going to share with you. Have any of you here heard of the Indian music composer called as A.R. Rahman? Any sure fans? He's an Oscar winner. So here's what somebody had to say about him. I'm going to say it in a language called as Tamil, and then I'm going to translate it for the benefit of all of you here. He said about Rahman, that is, அவர் ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய கலைஞர், ஆனால் அதற்கு முன்னாடி அவர் ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ரசிகர். So that sounds like Greek and Latin to you. Here's what it means. He said that A.R. Rahman is a great artist. He's a great music composer. But even before that, he's a great lover of art. He's a great connoisseur of art. He's a great admirer of good music. And I think this is the ultimate expression of law of attraction at work. So if you want to master something, be it a musical instrument, be it public speaking, we first need to be able to express our admiration for people who have mastered it. We need to be able to express our admiration for the skill itself. We need to be able to savor it, to take joy in witnessing the excellence of it at work. So that's the thought that I want to leave you all with. Become an admirer, an appreciator of that which you wish to master, and it'll come back to you in your life. With that, thank you all for having me here, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Dr. Mary.
Well, Toastmaster Karthik, a pro book reviewer. He should go professional. He can make money out of being a book reviewer. This is the second time I'm listening to him, and I don't have much to say. I'm sure all of you who have heard him have formed your own opinions and your own inspiration out of what was said by Toastmaster Karthik. I shall be silent so that you get time to process whatever Toastmaster Karthik has said. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this processing, because remember, it's just like when you read, you need to implement it. So think about what was the catchphrase or something that really hit you and went straight in that you may want to implement in your life. During that timer, please give us 1 minute. I would also like all the attendees who did not put the name of their book in the chat box, or if you have any other books you want to recommend, please, this is a 1 minute for you to write that into the chat box. 1 minute timer.
1 minute has finished.
Thank you. While we have processed whatever we heard, let's now call on the table topics master for today, Toastmaster John.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. As topics master, the purpose of this role is to facilitate table topics where guests and members will have the opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. I'll introduce a topic and call on speakers who will be given 2 minutes to speak on the subject. So today's table topic is readers and reading. I tried to line it up with the theme, so hopefully there's something that everybody gets out of this a little bit. So a little background on this topic. Readers can be categorized in several different types. The short list of readers can include one at a time reader, focuses on reading one page, chapter, book at a time. They're a paced reader. The self-helper thinks if the book doesn't have purpose, it's worthless. Enjoys documentaries when not reading and chooses nonfiction over fiction every time. The hopeless romantic loves a good, sad love story. The dibble dabbler, not faithful to one genre or even finishing a book if another catches his fancy. The bedtime booker enjoys reading to relax and wind down, especially at bedtime. And the serial book binger flies through a book series like it's a Netflix season. There's also reading strategies, I think, that we all use under certain conditions. And the two that I'd like to share with you is the linear reader. The reader reads the text from left to right and from start to finish, also known as slow or deep reading. And nonlinear reading, the reader skims material jumping to different sections, also known as scattered reading. So in today's modern world with technology, what's the difference between reading in print and reading online? Reading on screens has been shown to create shallower processing for the reader. It's hard on the eyes. It's less structured, especially when you're just simply scrolling to find information, and drains mental resources with all pop-up ads and distractions, perhaps on a computer screen. Reading on paper, well, you get deeper reading. Multiple senses are stimulated, such as visual and tactile. And there's the intentional section where you have less distractions, able to focus and increase retention and comprehensions, as many studies have shown. So what's the reality of today's options? Well, in 2018, a Pew Research Center survey showed that we increasingly read books in a range of formats and on a variety of devices, not just on paper anymore. There are a number of apps that are designed to streamline the process of reading on the go. You can select a book, track your progress, and even submit reviews, all from the convenience of your handheld device. Social media has had a profound effect on our reading habits. It governs our daily lives and has had a dramatic impact on ways in which we consume text online. Social media and video games have placed the ways in which we traditionally read and tell stories. Education has changed with books, lessons, and even degrees delivered online. Exposure to digital potential of reading is introduced at an early age. So with that said, I've got some questions for the group, and let's be authentic in our responses. So I will go, I've selected some names. I believe they do not have any roles, so those are the people I will go to first. And Shaquille, I'd like to give you this question.
Yeah.
Given the choice of reading media, which do you prefer, paper or online?
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. The timer is TM Guillermo James.
Yes.
Okay. Start. Long ago, on a bright sunny day, two friends, Ali and John, were talking with each other in a garden as green as a green leaf. Hi, John. How are you? What's going on? Well, it's really monotonous life, 9 to 5 going on. Really? Aren't you reading any books? Well, it's very, very difficult to read the printed books nowadays. It takes a lot of hell of a time to read books. Really? Why don't you read online books? I read online books whenever I have time, even on my mobile. Well, you're right, but the charm and the magic, the addiction of the printed books, you can't really deny it. So I prefer reading printed, but I don't have time nowadays in my monotonous life. Well, whenever I have a time during the driving, or you can say in any task I perform, I read online. Even audiobooks, they are really good solution. Really? Well, I will try to go online as well. Don't dependent on printed. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, there are two school of thought you can say in the world regarding book reading. The traditional school of thought that prefer the printed book. Well, it always has many pros you can say than cons of printed books reading. But in our fast changing world nowadays, there are better options available like online reading and audiobooks as well. You would have heard a saying, something is better than nothing. Really, in our fast world, if we don't have time for reading the printed book, we should opt for online, even for audiobooks. You can say whenever you have time during any time of the day, you can switch over to online books and take benefit from these. And as TM Karthik said, don't be insight addict, be action addict. Over to you, Table Topic Master.
Well, thank you for that, Shaquille, or should I say, thank you, John and Ali. I'd like to hear more about their conversation. Okay, so I think we're kind of hitting on the biliterate portion. You kind of have the pros and cons for both online and paper. No reason that you should exclusively choose one over the other. So I briefly lined out the different types or categories of readers. And when I was looking this up, there was like up to 20. So I kind of left those off to the side. There's a one at a time, the self-helper, the hopeless romantic, the dibble dabbler, the bedtime booker, and the serial book binger. So if I could ask Raleigh, what type of reader are you? Mr. Raleigh, are you present? Okay, I'm going to assume he's not available, and I'm going to move on to Suhadra. Is Suhadra available to answer the question? What type of reader are you? I'm going through the list of names pretty quick, folks. Okay, let me try Siva. Are you available, Siva? Come in,
Yeah,
Siva.
I'm available here. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So can I ask you, out of the categories I listed, or feel free to ad lib, what type of a reader are you?
Thank you, Table Topic Master, asking this question. Yeah, so nowadays we have getting electronic device, laptop, mobile phone, even the visual ads, everywhere is there. But we are closely adapted with that. But I'm still I'm looking back. So your book is always good things. Whenever I read using through mobile phone or my laptop, I never felt I read something. Even I go to my office, just open my news channel, whatever reading there. At the end of the day, I felt I never did anything. I just opened my paper, just even I spent 5 to 10 minutes also, I felt real things, real feeling I'm getting. That's what I really love, reading the books and newspaper, whatever it is. And also I'm getting benefit also, but we can't avoid virtual devices like mobile or whatever it is. But that also helping us. But my recommendation is go with the hard thing. Even though it's old, it's still it won't affect your eye or mind, even whatever it is always benefit us. It is kind of anxious things, it always help us to do more better without any effect. Over to you, table topic master.
Well, thank you, Mr. Siva. I'd say you might be the self-helper type of a reader. And I agree with the whole concept of not feeling like you've read something when you read it online, because it's so easy just to jump to the information you're looking for, but it does speed things up. All right, moving on to the next question. This one is for Andrea. Andrea, are you present? Come in, Andrea. Over. Okay. Is Maureen available? Maureen, are you available?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. All right, Maureen, do you have a favorite book that you will always remember? Do you have a favorite book that you will always remember? And this sounds a little bit like what Mary was asking.
Yes. It was a biography of Leonardo da Vinci. And it's by a very famous author. He's actually on he's done a lot of biographies, but what I loved about it, the Leonardo da Vinci, and I also went to a different part of the country to see Leonardo da Vinci's codex. So that's how inspired I was at a museum, and I translated it from the Latin and the Italian. So it just is a guide for me. I admired him so much for his spirituality and his invention and his openness and his commitment to his community to safeguard them with skills in science and his beautiful art, of course, which he's known for, but medical studies. And for example, when he was carving up cadavers, it was most people thought that it was, you know, trying to do the beautiful artwork, but he created the saw the blood flow, and it created that it goes in a centrifugal force, and that sent the codex was bought by Bill Gates in 1998, and it was translated. Excuse me, it changed all the way that we do robotic surgery, because the surgery, vascular surgery, never accounted for centrifugal gravity. So I love a person that, no, I obviously don't have the IQ, but it, you know, you have to be vertical myself, but to be impassioned by, you know, solving problems, warfare. He had this trajectory that went beyond what the Wright brothers propeller did. It was just every single situation that had to be solved. He would solve it with a good heart. And it's, you know, and he seemed to be inspired by, you know, a very higher level of consciousness or belief and faith. So, you know, for me, I always, you know, that's really changed my life.
Well, thank you, Maureen. I think I personally
I'll put the author in the chat, because it was brilliant. The writing in the book, the style writing was beautiful as well. It was the biographer actually matched the Da Vinci in terms of his writing talent.
Thank you. I feel that was a book review professionally done as well. I like historic nonfiction type books, and I feel like that's something that would certainly pique my interest. Thank you, Maureen. All right, I saw Mr. Rollage's hand up. Is Rollage available? Mr. Rollage. That hand went away pretty quick. I do not know what happened. And we've got Dia. Is Dia available? Dr. Mayor, we've got a lot of people showing up, but not here in body. I see them in name, but not in body. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to move on to Clara. Is Clara present? Clara. Okay. How about?
You mean Claire? I'm present.
Oh, fantastic. Whew. Okay,
Yeah.
so Clara, I've got a question for you. And do you find benefit in reading? Is it stimulating, relaxing, educational? What benefit do you find in it?
Yeah, so I definitely find benefit in reading. Personally, I'd say I read to relax. I think especially fiction is capable of kind of translating you into a different world where you can forget about your own worries and just immerse yourself in somebody else's perspective and life and everything that's going on for them. And yeah, I'm a bit of an all or nothing reader, so I can go a long time without reading, but when I do read, if I enjoy it, then I'm somebody who can't put the book down and get quite addicted to reading. So yeah, I do absolutely love reading, but it's definitely something that I need to have the time to do so that I can properly get into the book and enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I think that would put you, I'm looking at the categories, I'd say one at a time reader. So thank you for sharing that, Clara.
Hi, John. Sorry to tell you, my name is Pramod. I just written that it is no role. That's not my name.
I am sorry. I was going off first names. I know Pramod. I didn't know Rolly. So Pramod, since you're here, and I probably was saying your name wrong. I am certainly embarrassed about that. Let's go with the next question.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Passion for reading need not begin with strictly literary works. It may start to flourish through comic books, magazines, and illustrated books, which was my favorite growing up, comics. Where did your interest in reading begin?
Fellow Toastmasters, I started reading at the age of 5 or 6, and I got the habit from my father. My mother was also a good reader. She still reads, but it started with spiritual book because that was the one thing which was used to read in my, like Mahabharata and Ramayana, the both great epics of from India. That was first introduced to my life by my parents, my grandmother-in-law. Then gradually, it progressed. I started learning English at the age of 9, I guess, when I was in 4th standard. That's how in Kerala we start our second language. We started at the age of 9. When we progressed, then to a greater extent, the teenage books, I would say that Perry Mason, Sidney Sheldon, Nancy Drew, and all those books that helped me a lot in keeping the reading habits continue. Because at one point of time, your requirements are different in different times. So it helped me continue the reading habits. Then I gradually progressed to serious reading. When I started my graduation, I studied English language and literature before studying my law. And there I was introduced to classics, Jane Eyre, all the works of William Shakespeare, Marlowe, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, B.B. Shelley, John Keats, and all those classical and Victorian romantic, all those, it continued and it helped me understand the real purpose in life. Then now, if I speak frankly, I don't read fiction at all. I read something, I'm like man search for meaning kind of books. Right now I'm reading more about Osho, Jiddu Krishnamurti. I read philosophical books because it gives me immense satisfaction. And I watch a lot of movies also. I think movies and books both are, for me, it is the same thing. I understand life and I understand concepts. I understand characters. I really love reading books and watching movies equally. So if I don't get time to read a complete book like Harry Potter and all, somebody said she read Harry Potter first time. I watched all the movies. I didn't read Harry Potter because it was so big to complete. It takes a lot of time. That's how my reading journey progressed so far. I'm sure that it will change further also. Back to you, Toastmaster, table topic master. Thank you. John, you're on mute. John, you're on mute.
Thank you, Pramod. I am moving to Kirti. Is Kirti available? Oh, I
yes.
see.
Hi.
Perfect. How you doing? Okay.
Hi.
So here's a little background on the question. For the younger generation, it is cool to be technologically savvy. It is cool to play video games, and it is cool to get likes on your Instagram photo. It is cool to be up to date with the latest TV shows, but it is not cool to read. Will reading as a source of education and entertainment slowly become a victim of technological evolution? You there, Kirti? Your audio is not. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I'm new to this session. I joined today.
Oh.
Could you, hi to everyone. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. We, with the younger generation and the influences they have on to be cool, reading is not on that list. So do you think reading as a source of education and entertainment will slowly become a victim to the technological evolution?
Yes, that's absolutely true. So even if we see the younger generation, my own kids, so they don't like to read books at all. So they're more interested to watch it on a TV or on the internet. So they're more prone to playing games and other stuff, but not reading books. So we should be able to somehow have to inculcate the habit of reading the books. So I think that should be done gradually and needs a lot of patience from the parents to get them into that habit.
Very good. I imagine most parents are struggling with the exact same issue you are. I think I'm still doing good. I think I'm still doing good on time. Is that right? Do we have time for a couple more questions?
We're done. We're kind of out of time.
Okay, then I will hand it back over to you, Madam Table Topic, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. We are already running out of time. So I'm going to quickly go into the evaluation segment. Let's call upon distinguished Toastmaster Milind to give us evaluation for his speaker, Toastmaster Catherine Opondo. Over to you.
Thank you, Mary. I'm going to read the title of Catherine's speech once again, and I'm going to give you 10 seconds to mull over it. The title of her speech was Leadership is Not a Beauty Contest. Just think about it. I think it is such a profound statement. And Catherine, thank you very much for choosing such a statement as a title of your speech. As when we are giving a speech, especially at Toastmasters, we have about 7.5 minutes to have the audience's attention. But you also have an opportunity before you start your speech to catch the audience's attention. And that is by announcing the title of your speech. And Catherine, and that's what exactly Catherine did today. her title, which I saw before the speech started, itself caught my attention. And I'm sure any of you who has read the agenda and who has seen the title would have thought, what is this title? And that's exactly what a speaker has to do. The speaker in the first 15 seconds has to catch the attention of the audience. And Catherine, you did this wonderful trick, if I may use the word, of choosing a title which makes everybody think. So kudos to you, Catherine, on a very well chosen title of your speech. Leadership is not a beauty contest. And then, of course, you explained your thoughts, your concept, your experiences. What you did very well, another way of catching the audience's real attention is to share stories or to share experiences, and especially share personal experiences. And this is what, Catherine, again, you did. And because of that, a kind of emotional connect gets established between the audience and the speaker. And once that connection is established, then the speaker has to just keep narrating his speech and the audience stays hooked. And this is what happened to you. Now, Catherine, you did a few more things because of which you kept our attention. You had a great use of pauses. Pauses are very, very important. And you have this knack, Catherine, of using pauses, which gives the audience an opportunity to think as to what has she said and what is she going to say. And therefore, the whole atmosphere in the room starts getting created when you intelligently use pause. And this is what you did. Of course, you had vivid language. Your voice modulation is absolutely superb, Catherine. And therefore, I think you excelled in all these things. And at the end of the day, you brought out the various aspects of leadership. Credibility is the foundation of leadership and all this. But Catherine, somewhere I think two things. One is, now just watch at my face. What do you think now? And what do you think now? Very important, because you are the president of our club, you are the showpiece of our club. And therefore, when you come on stage, I think your face has to be visible to everybody. And please try and make sure you do that. Number two, the objective of your speech or the project was to talk about a project. Now, where is that project? I didn't see the project anywhere. What was your project? I know somewhere, because I was an evaluator and I was listening with rapt attention, I probably felt that your project was that thing what your organization told you to do, some books, review it and things like that. But when you are giving a speech on managing projects, I think it is very important that you explain the contours of the project right at the beginning, so that the audience should know where you are taking them stage by stage through the entire speech. Somewhere that aspect I felt was missing in your project. So just for this, but two things. One is about the lighting, and secondly, a little more consciousness about what is the project and is my speech aligned to the project, and if it is aligned, demonstrating it during your speech. I think these are the things which all of us should do. These are a few recommendations, Catherine. And again, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to evaluate you. Back to you.
Thank you, evaluator. I'll quickly move over to the tag team. Timer, please.
Yes, we had a great meeting. For our prepared speeches, Catherine spoke for 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Karthik spoke for 15 minutes and 10 seconds. Moving on to table topics, Shakil, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Siva, 1 minute and 25 seconds. Maureen, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Claire, 50 seconds. Pramod, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Kirti, 50 seconds. And for our evaluations, Milind spoke for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, timer. Next, our counter. Toastmaster Shanda.
Hello, I'm here to give the counter report. And today Mary, Catherine, and Melind, there were no ahs, ums, or filler words. Karthik, there was one John, you had several so's and well filler words. Shaquille, you had one Maureen, you had several, about 4 ums. Claire, also about 4 ums. Pramod, you had 2 ahs. And Kirti, you had 1 ah and 1 so. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Shanda. Grammarian.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mary. Today we witnessed excellent usage of language from our speakers. They were like the professional speakers, as you say. So I'll just go ahead and list out few of the things that I think that we should take back. These are the usage of words like expounding, that basically means presenting and explaining in detail. And then we saw the usage of word wet nurse. Would anyone like to take a stab on that, what that means, wet nurse? Oh, so I'll go ahead and so this basically means
Say again the
someone
word. What is the word you mentioned, Shias?
wet nurse. Toastmaster Marie had used it when she was explaining the book that she liked. Wet nurse. It basically means someone who's employed to take care of another child. I believe that's what she meant when she said she used to take care of her siblings. Then there was another usage of word called extension. And we also had some external quotes like in it to win it, that was used by Toastmaster Catherine. Then we had another good usage that was sitting on the hot plate, that basically sees you are on the spotlight and what you have to do. There were other good usage by our book reviewer, that was insight edict versus action edict. Then we have credibility is the foundation of leadership. Catapult to a different league. Action is what changes our life. So these were some very good usage of quotes as well as good usage of words that we witnessed in our meet today. That's all I have to share for now, and I'll get back to Toastmaster Mary.
Thank you, Grammarian. Thank you. Let's move on to the next segment, the final segment of the meeting. Someone has been listening, watching stealthily about what's going on during the meeting. Quietly, very quietly, silently. Now I shall give that opportunity to speak and tell us about the good things that happened during the meeting and the things that need improvement in the meeting. I call upon General Evaluator, Toastmaster Cassandra.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Thompson. I want to say that the meeting started off well. It started on time. I love the way the meeting started. You started with engagement. You got audience participation by asking the question, how old were you when you started reading, and what was your favorite book? That got audience participation. That got people involved. And that's always a good thing. Even for the guests, people that has never come to your meeting before, or those that have, but for today's meeting, you got audience participation, you got people involved, and that's what you want. Even though you had 19 people, everyone got a chance to participate. And that's what you want at a Toastmasters meeting. You want to greet people and you want audience participation. So I really enjoyed that part of the meeting. I love the part where with Catherine, the president, her speech, it was awesome. She brought in great nuggets of information. it was so nice to hear that part of it, because with her speech, food for thought, it brought back things for me that I was like, that happened to me. And it made me think. And then with the evaluation, the superb evaluation, it made me think about some things. And then with the table topics, again, the involvement that was shared there. And then with the book review, again, he brought out things that, again, made you want to think, those are things that make people think, and you marinate on those things that he brought out, and it brings out things that you can take back and think about. And I love the way you guys shared in the books, because again, it's a reference you can take back with you. The thing that I want to say is, in the future, I know that people tend to drop out at times when they have roles, but you guys snap back. You were able to pivot. People came in at the beginning, because I was here at the beginning, and you guys were able to substitute and pivot. And that's what you want. You want to be able to do that. People stepped up and pitched in. And that's what we do as Toastmasters. That shows the leadership, that shows the professionalism. And all in all, the meeting came off without a hitch. And so for behind the scenes, we know what happened, but for the visitors and any others, no one will ever guess, will ever know. So kudos to you. The meeting was a success, and that's what we want. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Evaluator. Thank you. We needed to hear this. So, and we would look into all your suggestions and all your commendations. Thank you. Thank you again, Toastmaster Cassandra. All right. So we're coming to the close of the meeting. I'm handing over the virtual lectern to President to close the meeting. President
Thank you
Catherine.
so much, Dr. Mary Thomas. Toastmasters and guests, it is my opportunity to inform you that as a club officer ex-committee, we unanimously agreed to introduce Toastmaster John Curtis as the new secretary to the club, after having had one of our club secretaries not able to continue with the role. So I would like you, in absentia, I think, John, are you there? John is now our new secretary, and I would like you to give him a round of applause for choosing to take the step of leadership. Thank you so much, John. And you'll be getting an announcement soon. I like the fact that she has a very unique hand clap emoji. I've never seen it before, so I'm just surprised that hands can clap on their own. So it felt like actually Shakil doing the same. It's very scary. It feels like some hands were cut off and they're clapping on their own. Anyway, so thank you so much, John, for choosing to become our secretary. That is the only announcement I have. I'm requesting once again, please reach out to one another. Please reach out to other club members and request them to update their Pathways projects on Basecamp, so that on the 15th, when Toastmasters launches to the new program, we have not lost our data. We have not lost our milestones as club members. I now adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much, guests.